Welcome to M1003. We are here, and I hope this room brings back memories for some of you. And you don't lose any sleep over some of the memories, but we're so proud of our facility here, and we're so proud to be a part of Focus, especially in this world where we need some positive news. And we've got some positive news tonight that Carolyn Cameron is our guest tonight on Focus, our first Focus. And Carolyn is a proud graduate of Fanshawe College from 2012. So Carolyn, you're it, and thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy and we're so grateful that you are here. You are prime because you never say no. You're even known around Sportsnet, I think, as someone who always says yes, right?
You know my weakness. I just want to say first off, I'm very happy to be here, and it's quite surreal even just seeing you, Jim, in the M building and in the room that I spent so much time a lot of time. Yep. A lot of early mornings and late nights, and I'm excited. This is strange to be on the other end of an interview, and especially it's a little strange, especially given, I mean, for those who don't know, Jim was really my main professor throughout school as well. So I hope I get good marks at the end of this interview. I hope I'm a good interviewee.
All that stuff is over. Yeah, it's going to be such a blast. We're going to go through Carolyn's career. And once you start looking at it and you go online or you just think about what you've done, it's just incredible. And we've got some incredible stories to share. So tennis has been your thing for a long time. And it's so interesting how we were talking earlier, how Canadian tennis has perfectly matched your career in a lot of ways. And go back to 10 years ago, and Carolyn Cameron was preparing for her final year of school here at Fanshawe. And if you were to think in 10 years, I'm going to be calling a tournament named after Billie Jean King, and I'm going to be like, imagine that.
Nope. Yeah, no, it's hard to imagine. But yeah, I'll take you back to, I guess, 10 years ago. And it might have even been about 11 years ago, just in terms of when my tennis career in broadcasting started. I was always a big tennis fan, and I was a ball kid at the Rogers Cup for many years. And when I was interning at Sportsnet's radio station, The Fan, in the summertime in school, it just came to be that they didn't have a tennis blog, and I took it upon myself to ask, is there any chance I could write one? And they thought, well, sure. No one's going to read this because tennis isn't really a big deal in this country. And if you want to do this for free, go ahead. So I started writing it. And then by my final year at Fanshawe, I was doing radio hits too on The Fan from London. And that was the time in 2011 when Milos broke out onto the scene. And then people started talking about Canadian tennis a bit more. And Rebecca Marino, who's playing this weekend, she also broke out. And then came Jeannie Bouchard. So once I got to Sportsnet and they had the Rogers Cup rights, I think it was just over a year into Sportsnet, I started doing Rogers Cup broadcasts. And then I was able to do Davis Cup and then Fed Cup, which is now Billie Jean King Cup. So it really did work in my favor. And it was honestly one of those things where, Canadian tennis is kind of a thing now. Who can, she's writing a blog. So come on in.
Let's talk about the ball crew, about how you and your dad got tickets for the Rogers Cup, and you're right close to the players, but you kind of said, hey, look at that job. They're chasing the balls and handing the towels. I want to do that.
Yeah. And so I was about 15, 16, which is late to join ball crew, right? That's your veteran,
old rookie.
Close to retirement years. Yeah. And yeah, it was just volunteer, and it turned into something I did for many summers. And then once I was actually forced into retirement from ball crew, then I just came back as a volunteer in charge of the ball kids. And some of my closest friends now still volunteer at the tournament. So that was one of the coolest things in my career, is when I first got to do the Rogers Cup broadcast. And I remember standing in the corner of center court, and I was so nervous. My palms were sweaty and my heart was racing, just because it was one of my first times doing a live broadcast too. And you don't have the safety of a teleprompter or anything. And then I really, though, took it in because I'm looking around and I see volunteers that I'd known for years, and some of my best friends, and my parents were just in the stands because they got tickets to watch that night. And I remember Brad Fay, who's on Sportsnet, just throwing to me, and you hear the music in your IFB in your ear and the Rogers Cup music, and then it's the Rogers Cup, and they threw to me, and I was just, whew. I'm glad I didn't get too choked up or freaked out, because I think I probably said something that made sense. But that was neat. It's those moments in your career, as you know, Jim, it's the more personal ones, where especially in a career like this, where you grow up wanting to be this when you grow up, it's pretty rare and cool when you're in a position that you see it right in front of you as you're doing it.
Yeah. You spent a couple of years in Vancouver. I guess it was a couple of years into you graduated Fanshawe, then you went right to, I guess it would have been Rogers City Updates that you did.
Yeah.
What was Vancouver like to live in and work?
Sure. So yeah, it was just about 2 years after I'd graduated, and I'd been doing some sports updates and then reporting. And then I was just very early into filling in on a mat leave for Martine Geyer at the Sportsnet, then Connected Central desk anchoring. And honestly, a few weeks in, my boss at the time, he said, you're filling in. We really see you as being a reporter down the road. I'm like, yeah, sure. Great. Whatever. And then about 2 weeks later, I get called into his office, and he said, you know what? Change of plans. We think we're going to have you move to Vancouver and do the morning show with James Cybulski. And I wasn't prepared professionally. Now I knew, now I look back and I was capable of learning and doing it, but I was yet to turn 24, and I was being kind of thrust onto this bigger stage and moving across the country where my grandparents had passed, and I didn't really know anyone out there. So it was a big move personally and professionally. And I am so glad I did it for both of those reasons. Cause it's like anyone can relate when you're taken out of your comfort zone, and then you kind of learn on the fly and prove to yourself that you can do something in a new city, especially. It was great for me. And James Cybulski, who's been a mainstay in Canadian sports broadcasting for many years at TSN, at The Score, at TSN, at Sportsnet, he was just such a big help, and is still kind of like a big annoying brother, as I like to tell him.
Yeah.
Just really helped me grow. And it was just such a great 2 years. I really enjoyed it. And I loved the BC lifestyle too, minus the rain. Yeah.
You said you didn't feel ready almost though for something like that. Yeah.
No, because I'd been doing like weeks of anchoring, not months.
Yeah.
So I can see how I think my bosses saw the potential. And I even remember when I started and was doing the shows, I think I was almost trying to prove what I knew instead of just doing what I knew, if that makes sense. Not that it went poorly, but it was definitely a learning curve. And it's like, okay, let's kind of just run before we can walk here.
But let's play the video that something from the Breakfast Television Vancouver show something you got to do while you were in Vancouver. And we'll come back on the other end and get your thoughts on it.
Canada is known for its landscapes, its maple syrup. It's also known for its poutine. And Canada's #1 ranked male singles player, Milos, is known for
his serve.
There you go.
Roundage, a monster serve.
That serve is ridiculous. It's just the biggest weapon in the game.
In my opinion, the purest serve right now in men's tennis.
It's like somebody slamming the door in your face.
People don't really like to talk about the other parts of your game so much. You notice that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I'm going to try and return a serve. Have you ever made anyone cry, or has anyone been injured by your serve that I should know about?
Unfortunately, at Wimbledon last year, ball girl got hit and she left the court crying.
It really does hurt. So she's off for repairs.
I used to be a ball girl, so I'm pretty tough, so I think I'll be okay. I got this. No second serves, only aces down the line. I'm gonna regret that. It's like when I blink, it's just gone. Okay. Contact. I feel like it's gonna break my racket. And I'm slightly out of breath from missing a ton of balls. Okay, since C-Ball couldn't be here, he wimped out. I'm gonna have you try and aim at some targets and just take him out.
Okay.
He has a big head naturally, so the blow-up head on him doesn't look that ridiculous.
Is that life size?
Yes, it is. He's got a very big ego. He claims his face is his moneymaker. This brings me great joy. Oh! Down he goes. Okay, I wasn't able to return any of the serves, but I think our job here is done.
Yeah, I believe so. Hopefully next time he'll man up and come out.
Probably not. He's got a big head and he doesn't want to get his moneymaker injured. Thanks, Milos. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
There you go. Now you
Poor
were
C-Ball.
that wasn't you were really trying. Like what's that ball like coming at you?
So those were probably second serves, if not lighter, because he wanted to do it after his practice and he wanted to make sure his arm was warmed up. It made me look very bad at tennis. They just came from such a height and angle. I just had no chance. Like I was trying to return
you are
them
good.
I'm okay, but I'm not, as evidence there, I'm not great.
That just goes to show our point earlier about just how different it is for the average person to see the game that close up.
Yes. And Milos was a good sport in doing that too.
Yeah, very gracious.
I feel bad for C-Ball. I was a bit of a bully.
Yeah. Well, you guys that was part of the part of the show.
It was.
Now, where are we for women? You are there's this this great awareness and awakening in sports broadcasting and sports in general, be it on the field or off. How much more do we have to go? Where are we for you and your teammates, your colleagues at all networks? It's just been so cool to watch you be part of this new awakening.
Yeah, it's been really cool for me and even quite eye-opening in my career. And I think we're in a good place, but we still have a long ways to go. But the past, I'd say year and a half or even 2.5 years, I think there's really been a strong push. And even just in this past year within COVID and everything else that's going on in the world and the social injustices and people talking about it more. So for me, it's been really great personally being more comfortable and speaking out more so as a leader, which I feel much more comfortable to do now at work, and making sure that I'm not just speaking up for myself, but for others around me and for the people still to come. So I think we're doing pretty well. I think even here's an example. So I host a show called Hockey Central. And yes, I am a female hosting a hockey show in Canada, which is quite rare. But to me, that's not good enough, right? I shouldn't be the token female. So we need different voices on, and that doesn't matter. You need male, female, different ethnicities, different viewpoints. The more voices you have on, the better the broadcast will be. Mm-hmm. So that's also on me. In terms of being a part of the show and creating it, is we need to make sure that we are constantly trying to get diverse voices on and pushing, especially the game of hockey, to do the same. And from the NHL standpoint too, Kim Davis is in charge of their inclusion and diversity. And she's a really bright voice and very smart. And I highly encourage anyone, if they're not familiar with her, to look her up. It needs to come from everywhere though. And we need to keep each other accountable. And I think that's where things have changed. I feel like there is much more accountability now than there was even when I started out in the business or even just a few years ago. So I hope it continues to get better. But sports still, I think, is in some ways it can lead. And we saw that with the NBA last year in the bubble. But in some ways, I find sports sometimes trails a little bit behind.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for all you're doing to blaze a trail for graduates who are going to come your way. It's so great to have someone like you pave the way, and I know it's not easy. I know, for example, that it's still the case women face social media things that men don't. How do you handle that? Do you get support from Sportsnet? What happens there?
Yeah, and sadly, it's also something you just kind of get used to, which is
that right,
clearly the sign that there's something wrong. For me, I've always said, actually, first and foremost, I want to say too, there are so many people who paved the way for me. I wouldn't have even thought that I could be a sportscaster if I hadn't seen Chris Simpson or Martine Geyer or Jennifer Hedger on TV, right? And maybe Carolyn the kid loving basketball, maybe I would have been interested in getting into management. But as a kid, I didn't see that on TV. I didn't know that a woman could be a GM, right? In terms of social media and backlash, yeah, everyone deals with it at different layers. The way I see it, and I think this is just healthy advice for everyone, is positive feedback. That's very nice, but you don't know these people, so I wouldn't have it make your day. Negative feedback can be constructive, and if it's not, again, you don't know these people, so don't let it ruin your day. So as long as my friends and family and the people I care about and respect me, then I'm okay. I'll survive.
Yeah. Well, Bob Cole was the play-by-play announcer on your first Hockey Night in Canada broadcast.
Yes.
Where was it? And tell us that story.
So this was 2019, March in Boston. And I was very nervous. This was my first time being rinkside, and even just the little details of having the mic flag that says Hockey Night in Canada, and the fact that it was Bob Cole and what we knew was going to be his final season. And I'd never met Bob before either. So listen, I was nervous to begin with because it was my first time on Hockey Night in Canada, and Ron McLean's throwing to you. And I don't know how many times I need to say it's Hockey Night in Canada. So you're freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you're working with Bob Cole, I just wanted him to think I wasn't, I don't know, like, what's this girl doing here? How's she going to do? So I was very nervous. It was very exciting though, and it was all going well. And then it was headed into the third period. You come out from commercial and the camera's going down to center for puck drop. And Bob had to probably fill some time. And he said something, my impression is going to be
Come on, do Bob Cole.
But something like, well, this is Carolyn Cameron's first time on Hockey Night, and she's doing a very good job with the team. She is a very professional lady. And I was just like, oh, and the producer of the game too, who I've worked with a lot he like keyed me in my ear. He's like, did you just hear that? I'm like, yeah, oh my God, yeah. And so one of my best friends heard it, and 2 weeks later was my birthday, and she gave me a personalized mug. They just order online, and it said, in quotes, very professional lady, Bob Cole. So I kept the game sheet, which is what the producer and the crew told me to do, and Bob actually signed it. And they got me one of the game pucks too.
Carolyn, I can't thank you enough for being the first guest on the Focus. Great stories, but we're so happy for you. We're so, I want to say proud, but that's, yes, we are, but we're so happy for you that your hard work has paid off, and you deserve every bit of success. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Jim. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it without Fanshawe. And also, I've told you this many times, but without you and all the guidance and support you gave me in the years at school and beyond. So thank you.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we're going to enjoy the next, it's been 9 years since you left. We'll enjoy the next 20 years watching you in your career. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.